Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. I am Kim. This is Kim's Wellness Space. If you haven't been here before, welcome. If you have, you know the drill. I mainly hang out over on Instagram, and thank you so much for being here and listening. So if you have been around in my world for a while, or you know me well, you'll know that menopause is something that's very close to my heart. I wrote a book about it. I'm always talking about it. And, let's face it, it's something that affects all of us, whether you're a woman or not. If you're a husband or a son, you still have to put up with us. And so for me, this is like a passion conversation that I think we need to keep talking about, keep revisiting. And it was really interesting from all of the guests that I had last year. The majority of them, no matter what their passion was, we ended up having conversations about menopause. It just comes in all the time. So I'm super excited today to talk to my guest. I came across Holly because her tag on Instagram used to be the menopause coach. So immediately I was intrigued to see what she was getting up to and what her world was like. And so when she agreed to talk to me, I was really pleased. So with that being said, let's bring Holly into the studio. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be able to talk to you. And I do want to start just by saying that you have actually changed your name on Instagram, haven't you, to the Hormone Harmony Coach. So I will make sure that I tag you. I'll probably tag in both because we've talked about it, but just so that everybody knows where to find you.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to start by saying welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Holly. So yeah, I was the menopause coach. It's now the hormone harmony coach. It just kind of feels a little bit more in alignment with my path. I'm still helping perimenopausal women though. That hasn't changed. But my background is kind of from a fitness background. I'm a personal trainer. And then it's kind of developed into more fitness and lifestyle coaching, as well as now developing more into living more like cyclically. So in harmony with your cycle, or if you don't have a cycle, you can live in harmony with the moon as well. That's quite nice. So yeah, I kind of do a full lifestyle audit on your life to help you basically thrive through perimenopause and then into menopause and postmenopause. So it's not like you've just been hit with a ton of bricks, basically.
Yeah, amazing. And what's the thing that surprised you most in working with women in this world of menopause?
I think it's just that women haven't got a clue what's going to happen to them and what is happening to them. Like through school, we're like, okay, so we taught about puberty and periods and then getting pregnant, and then kind of like just skip this whole bit of the rest of your life when you start going into perimenopause. Can be from 40, sometimes earlier, like me. I'm in early menopause, I'm 36. But usually from around 40, mid 40s, you start experiencing all these random symptoms and you're like, what the friggin' hell's going on? But everybody kind of just forgot to tell us about that. And like 50% of the population goes through this. But oh, well, women will just get on with it as per usual. So yeah, just women not knowing what the friggin' hell's going on. So it's nice to kind of give them some knowledge and help them to feel empowered so that they can conquer this next stage and the rest of their life, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And you're right. Like, why do we not teach this? Well, this is reasons I wrote my book, because I was like, well, if I don't know, and I class myself as someone who is reasonably well educated, like I like learning, and I didn't know what was going on. So, if you're not that way inclined to find out for yourself, how do you get this knowledge? Because the conversations are better, but there's still not that many, is there?
No, this is definitely not. I mean, the more coaches like within the fitness space are waking up to it, and the people I did my personal training course with, Fit Asylum, I'm like a mentor for their students. So I help give them advice for helping menopausal women to exercise. So there is more things kind of getting out there, but it is filtering it down and actually getting the correct information, and not a supplement brand wanting to sell you, oh, I can fix all your problems if you just take this tablet. Because there's a lot of that going on now. And even like in Boots, there's like a menopause range for your skin. And I'm like, no, it's making it really complicated. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I'm so pleased you brought that up, because I did extra notes before I came on today when I was just thinking about kind of what I wanted to ask you. And I I am someone that doesn't take pills. I don't like pills. That's just a personal thing to me. And I know that HRT can be helpful for some women, but again, for me personally, it's not an option. So I've
Mhm.
done my managing my menopause with food and exercise, basically. Um, but the last few days, I've seen this massive thing in America with Drew Barrymore. I'm sure you've seen it. And she's behind this huge new supplement that's supposed to save us all and be this magical cure. And I was reading it thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe that there's another one of these miracle cures. Because let's face it, as women, we have a miracle cure for everything, don't we? And none of them
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
But also, they've just realized that a lot of the ingredients, I think there's 3 key ingredients for this supplement, have already been proved that they damage liver.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was like, oh, how sad that we're still, as women, we get to such a place that we're so overwhelmed and so lost that we see that and we just buy in without any thought. And people just really taking advantage of that whole overwhelm situation.
Yeah, 100%. It's so easy. And unfortunately, the lifestyle and the life that we live in now is so fast paced, and we want a quick fix and we want everything done now. But in reality, because menopause affects so many different aspects of our life and our body and our mind, it isn't just a one pill thing that's going to fix everything. It is a full lifestyle. It's sleep, nutrition, exercise, mindful practices, tapping into your body and how you're feeling. And actually, self care is a massive part of it. And I think as women for so long who have maybe never done it and don't really know how to prioritize themselves, it becomes really alien. The amount of women I work with, and they're like, what? I need to take time for myself. What's that about? I don't understand. So yeah, one quick pill, supplement, whatever it is. I mean, HRT, it does help some women. I'm not knocking it. I have been on it myself. It wasn't right for me, and I decided to come off it, and I'm managing it holistically, let's say.
Yeah.
Um, but I think for women who are really, really far down the line where it's causing severe mental health issues and severe symptoms where it's affecting your quality of life, absolutely. There's a place for medication, but you have to be addressing all the lifestyle factors as well in order to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And it's interesting, just slightly kind of coming back to what you were saying about Boots having this range. It's
Mm.
interesting, isn't it, that if it's a menopause thing, they can charge a bit extra money for it as well. So, like for me, I'm completely plant-based, and
Mhm.
anything that's vegan is more expensive because it's a luxury. And,
Yeah.
it's not. Absolutely
It's
not. It should
not.
be one of our basic things, like eating fruit and veg is good for us no matter what.
Yeah, 100%. Like I had skin issues to do with my menopause symptoms, and the only thing that helped me was an all natural product. She's called Zoe Bee, and like trying to get her stuff so difficult because she like restocks at midnight because she just sells out within like 2 hours. But it's the charcoal and oat cream, and honestly, it's the only thing that's helped my skin get back to how it was, because it was really like dry, sore, like around my nose, eyes, mouth. And that is the only thing that's helped. No other supplements or even HRT, none of that helped. It's only been that cream that's helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point as well, because with this the symptoms that we hear about are, hot flushes, brain fog, which are awful.
Mm.
But oh my goodness, there's so many other things that are connected that, you don't join the dots, do you? Even when, you're aware, you still don't always join the dots to begin with. What's the most unusual symptom that you have come across so far, do you think?
Tinnitus is one. I have that. That drives me up the wall. Like, it's not all the time. I'll have phases where I go through it. When I was first having it, I was in bed and I was thinking, I said to my husband, I was like, can you hear an alarm going off? I can hear an alarm. Like, it was that loud. And I was walking around the house and it was in my head.
Oh my
It was in
goodness.
my ears. It was that severe. It's not been that severe since, but it's just really irritating. So there's things like tinnitus, cold flushes. So some women get
Yeah.
hot flushes, you can get cold flushes. there's like 51 plus symptoms. And I think that's why if you go to your doctor and you don't fall within the correct age range of menopause, they're like, no, it's not that. It's a woman. Like when I went with my skin to the doctor the first time, he's like, well, you're a woman, you wear makeup, so it's probably that. Here's some steroid cream. See you later. I was like, okay, thanks for
Yeah.
that. But yeah, there's so many symptoms. It's really difficult for women to understand that this could be part of perimenopause. And I think that's why they're so confused.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And actually when you're in it and you're living it, it's difficult to stand back and notice, isn't it? I know for me, one of the biggest things that I suffered with was brain fog. And it was,
Mhm.
I mean, I actually thought that I was having Alzheimer's symptoms.
Yeah.
I really thought there was something wrong with me. And it's frightening. And it took me a while before I could step back and be like, hang on a minute, maybe this is just a menopause symptom. And then once
Yeah.
I started looking at other avenues, I was like, oh, okay, I can actually do things to help this. But
Mhm.
when you're in that moment, you almost need someone with you sort of championing your cause, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that's why community and women coming together is so important in whatever capacity that is. If you're a business owner, maybe in a container or networking, or just going to women's circles. Like you'd be surprised how many women's circles there are in your local area. And even if you're not on the woo-woo scale, as we call it, it's still a really nice place to like connect with other women going through that phase of life. I mean, back in the day, there used to be red tents, and they would, where the women would go and menstruate, and they would come together collectively and like celebrate each other for going through this. And obviously we don't do that anymore. It's like we don't want to talk about periods, and oh, it's a horrible icky
Yeah.
thing. And it's like it's not really, like it's quite an amazing thing that the women's body go through, and this is just the next phase of it. So I think if you are feeling a bit like lost, or an online community, anywhere where you can connect with like-minded women that you can discuss openly and not feel ashamed, because I think there's quite still a lot of shame and embarrassment around it when there really shouldn't be. It's really a time, if you can embrace it, to step into your power and embrace the full force of it and just kind of go with it. And you kind of step into this like unapologetic, like my podcast is called No Fucks Given,
Yes.
because that's what it's like, making menopause your superpower, because that's what it is. If you let it, if you step into it, if you claim it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And being part of a community, like you say, is so, so important, because you know then that it's normal, and that you're
Yeah.
not a weirdo and you're not doing something
Yeah.
strange. And actually, probably most of the women in your street are feeling exactly the same, probably at the same time. Um,
Mm.
And yeah, to be normal and accepted is nice, isn't it? And I agree. Like, I think if you can get over the overwhelm and accept that, okay, this is what the second part of my life is going to be like, it's actually quite freeing,
Yeah.
to sit in the afternoon and read my book because I need to rest because it's good for my body. How nice is that?
I know, I love that. That's really good. Self-care. It's not selfish. It's
Yeah.
honoring you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
it's
love it.
really interesting that you were saying that you're following the cycle, and if you don't have a cycle, you can follow the moon. And
Mm.
I'm quite interested in this because I'm someone who doesn't really have a cycle, kind of do, but not properly, and it's really erratic. But getting my head round going with the moon, that's something that I've not quite grasped yet. So, have you got any
Mm.
hints or tips of how we can do that?
Yeah, so if you haven't got a cycle, you can follow the moon cycles to bring some kind of like cyclical living into your life. So when it's the new moon, when it's dark, that would be classed as day one. So that would be like your period. So day one. So that's what we can call like inner winter, where we kind of go inwards, we look after ourselves a little bit more, we slow down. We may not do as intense exercise. We go for walks, we do yoga, maybe more journaling. And this is a time actually where you can really tap into your intuition. So if you feel like you're a bit out of kilter, the new moon and your period is a time to really go inwards. And like, this is when I feel I can get like downloads about stuff and feel like I'm on the right path and all that kind of stuff. So that would be like day one.
Yeah.
And then when you're heading into, when it's waning.
Yeah.
And then we're heading up to the full moon. That would be your inner summer. And then that would be like ovulation. So that would be a time where you feel amazing and you want to live life to the full. And it's also quite a good time to plan your diary around that. So this was when you could do like podcasts, Instagram Live, you would do social events, go on holiday, because it's a time where you're going to feel at your best, basically. And then
Yeah.
as it heads back down towards the new moon, this is where we're going back into inner autumn, inner winter. So it's just about honoring the different cycles by following the moon. And I've not done a post on it yet, but I probably will do a post on how to do it with the moon, so it kind of flows and you can get into a more cyclical living. Because women that don't have a cycle, it's really hard, and you can kind of feel like you're a bit out of kilter with things if you are used to tracking and been in tune with it. And so living in harmony with the moon is going to bring more harmony into your body as you head into kind of maybe post-menopause as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant advice. And so what happens if you're kind of a bit sort of in a foot in each camp? Because I've had this conversation with friends of mine where, they doing exactly what you say. So the new moon is day one of their period and they're going on, looks all lovely. But then all of a sudden their period comes. So then it's like, well, have I got another day one? Or so how do you negotiate that?
So if it's kind of a bit all over the shop and you're kind of doing a bit of both, I would listen to your body more than following what the moon says. So if you've
Yeah.
got nothing at all, like postmenopause, then that's a really good tool. If you're still having somewhat of a cycle, but it's very erratic, I would try and be more in tune with your body. So if you did have your period, then kind of track the days, see how you're feeling, and keep a log maybe of how you're feeling on each day. And kind of go from there. Because I think listening to your body and being more in tune with your body would be more important than following with the cycle of the moon, because that's
Yeah.
where we're going to get most of the feedback from, is from us, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually a really good um tool to have if you can, is learning what your body likes and what your body doesn't like. It's something that I talk to my clients about all the time, is, it's really important to listen to how you feel and not use it as an excuse, but to really understand that some days you just are going to move differently, you are going to feel differently. And
Yeah.
especially when you're exercising, we have this thing that we've
Mhm.
got to do cardio and we've got to do this. And actually, as we get older and we get more into our menopause, cardio isn't that great for us. It can stress us out a lot, which can be detrimental, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cardio has its place, but as we go into perimenopause and beyond, we should definitely be prioritizing strength training, because we're going to lose, between peri and postmenopause, we can lose up to 10% of our muscle mass. This is going to impact our bone density, which can then lead to osteoporosis. So strength training, I would always prioritize over doing any kind of like HIIT or anything like that. I mean, daily walking is good. Daily movement is really good. If you enjoy cardio, that's fine. Just do it in moderation and don't make that your go-to. Make strength training your go-to so that you're not losing that muscle mass. Because when you see these old women and they're like hunched over, like that's osteoporosis. And the
Yeah.
amount of women that go into hospital with a broken hip and don't come back out, the statistics are quite scary. So if you don't ever want to be in that camp, you want to prioritize strength training. So you're kind of age proofing your own body so you don't get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, it's just for being able to be independent and do things for yourself, isn't it?
Mm,
Like picking up your
yeah,
shopping and carrying your shopping in
yeah,
and, reaching that shelf to take the can of beans down or whatever it is that you're wanting to
yeah.
do. That it's really important as we get older to be able to do those things for ourselves and not be reliant on other people, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, like been functional. Like, if you've never lifted weights before, I'd highly recommend just going and getting a personal trainer, even if it's for a few weeks, just so they can teach you what you need to be doing. If you go in and go, look, I just want it to be functional, I want to build some muscle, I want to keep the muscle I've got, then they'll put a plan together that you can follow. And then once you're a bit more confident, then you can go off and do like your own thing and stuff. But yeah, functional is much better than aesthetics. I think as we get older anyway, the aesthetics goal, although we may want to lose a little bit of weight and look a certain way, it becomes less important. I work
Yeah.
out to protect my body for age, not to look a certain way anymore, because I don't want to be that person. Like my nan was, I mean, she was 94 when she died. She was amazing, but she had arthritis, she had osteoporosis, she had a triple heart bypass, she had
Yeah.
thyroid issues, and a lot of it was mismanaged menopause.
Yeah.
So with heart disease so prevalent in women and running in my family, it's a big one up there. I'm doing it for health. I'm not doing it to have a six pack, because who can be asked to have a six pack? I can't.
No, absolutely. And I have to say, when I sort of realised that my exercise needed to change, I was so pleased to let HIIT go, because I hate that. There's no joy there for me. You know,
No.
Pilates, yoga, I love. Walking, I
Yeah,
love. And
yeah,
actually now I'm really into lifting weights. I love that. It makes you feel
mm,
so powerful and so strong. And
yeah,
you know, it gives you such a buzz, doesn't it? So, and yeah, and
yeah.
I'm the same as you. I exercise for my future self. It's not about
Mm.
if you can see the muscles, but I know that everything that I do, it's good for my mood, it's good for my bone density, you know, it's just good for my overall health. And I think that's quite exciting, isn't it? That we've got that control, we can do that.
Yeah, and how amazing is it, like, women lifting weights and getting really strong? Like, I absolutely love that. Like, there's a tag where it's like, strong, not skinny. Like in the 90s, it was all like thin supermodels, but now it's like, no,
Yeah.
you build muscle to protect your body as you get older. But also, if you build muscle, it will change the way you look. It will take time. It does take time, but if you consistently put in the work and even go twice a week, in a couple of years down the line, you will 100% see the difference. So it's playing the long game, which unfortunately in this day and age, people don't want. But if you want to protect your health, you've got to put in the work.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. It is about the long game, and everything is very quick, and you've got to win now. But actually,
Mm.
when you're doing those things for a quick win, they're not sustainable. They're not things you can do for your whole life. And we need things for our whole life, don't we? We don't want to be 6 weeks of intense and then going back to what we were doing before. We know it doesn't work.
No, exactly. And that's why my programs are 6 months, because you're not going to get where you need to be in a month. It's just not going to happen, because it takes a few months to get into the rhythm of it and to understand what's happening, and then to implement it, and then to start seeing results. So 6 months is like the minimum that you could sign up with, so that you will see changes, and that you're
Yeah.
like, after a month, you're like, oh, it's not working. It's like, well, it's not long
Yeah.
enough.
So while we're talking about that, how can people find you? How can they work with you? What do you kind of offer in your coaching?
So yeah, I offer one-to-one coaching, which is like a full lifestyle. We'll look at everything: nutrition, exercise, cycle tracking, living in harmony, becoming more in tune with your body. So to empower you and to build more confidence. So this is why it's a full lifestyle look at, and why it's 6 months. If you're not quite ready, then I do like a coaching call, like a 1 hour. We can like focus in on one thing that you're struggling with. I can give you a roadmap to get out of that. And then at the end of this month, I'll be launching a group program. So if you kind of like want to dip your toe in, maybe not quite ready for one-to-one, just want a little bit of guidance, then that might be a really good thing for you to have a look at. But yeah, you can just reach me on Instagram, Hormone Harmony Coach. And just DM me and just have a chat. We can just have a chat in the DMs if you want. Like, there's no pressure. Like, I'm happy to give people advice. It's not an issue.
Fabulous. That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Holly. And so if there is anyone listening to us chatting and thinking, oh, maybe this is me, or they're completely overwhelmed at the moment and they're not really sure, what would you advise their first step to be? What would you say they could do to help themselves?
So the first thing would be, I think the best thing you can do is to get everything out of your head, especially if you're feeling super overwhelmed and anxious about everything. Journaling is such a big tool that I use and that I help my clients use, because when we've got all these thoughts going on in our head and we're like, this is happening, it doesn't go from here. Like, men, they don't have that, but women,
Yeah.
it's all up here. So my husband says it to me sometimes. He's like, well, you've not done anything all day. And it's like, yeah, but up here, it's like this and this and this and this. And it's always going on. So if you can get that out of your head and onto paper, that can really help, especially if you're struggling to sleep. So you could do it at night. You can just like get brain dump everything that's happened that day and just get it out. And then sometimes when you're feeling anxious and overwhelmed and stressed, write it all down. Then in a couple of days, come back to it and look at the stuff you've written and go, it's fine. Like, I was totally overreacting to that. And you can kind of see it through a different lens. When you're in it, it's really hard. So
Yeah.
I would say first step, just prioritize you, go inwards, get it all out, and then kind of go from there. And then there's always stuff on my Instagram page, like I share tips and tricks and help. So if anybody's ever struggling with anything, you can probably find the answer on there.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and that's really good advice. And I think one of the things that I want to talk to you about, because it's really massively important and it kind of gets brushed away a bit, is the tiredness. So I'm sure my son won't mind, but I had a conversation with him a little while ago, and he was saying that his wife was tired, and he said, you know, Mum, I work, I'm tired, I get it. And I was like, you don't get it. Like, you're tired, you can go to bed and then you'll feel better. She can go to bed and she's still going to be as knackered as when she went to sleep, or she may be feeling more tired. And it's a different sort of tired, isn't it? And it's quite difficult to explain. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole tiredness thing?
Yeah, because like I said, women's heads are going round and round, like, what am I going to make for tea? I need to get this ready for this child. Oh, I need to book this appointment. Because I do a lot of that admin. So it's like, oh, I need to book the dog in at the vets. I need to do this. And he's like, oh, have you done this? Have you done this? And I'm like, you do it. Because it gets to a point where it's just that one extra question. And it's just like, I'll just lose it, because it's the last question of about 200 that I've had that day. So it's really hard to explain when it's not, you haven't annoyed me. It's just the final, it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes.
Because it's constant in your head, in your head, in your head, in your head. And men don't get it. They don't. And I've had physical jobs and I've had jobs where I've worked behind a desk, and they make me more tired. And it's the concentrating ones that make you tired. So yeah, you might not have done anything physical, but it's in your head, it makes you mentally tired, which makes your body tired. And then on top of that, with like fatigue and menopause symptoms, it can be like a catastrophe going on. So that's why getting it all out of your head, or even just having that conversation with your partner and going, look, some days I just want to come in and please don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me any questions. Just, do you know what? Sometimes, if I message you and go, will you just make tea? All I want is a yes. Sometimes, if I'm asking you to make tea, just say yes. Or just order a takeaway. Do you know, just like little things. But having those conversations with your partner can sometimes really, really help. Not only your mental health, but also your relationship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the things stack, don't they? If you're having hot flushes, that means you're not sleeping very well. Just those two things make you exhausted. Then you've got like your normal day to day. Then you've got your head stuff, like you were just saying. And then anything else that comes along as well. It's a lot. There's a lot going on, isn't there? No wonder we need a rest.
Yeah, it's just draining. Like some days I'll go to bed at like 8 because I'm like, I'm just so tired. I just need to get in bed. And he's like, you're always tired. I'm like, don't start. I'm going to bed. But then the next day I'm okay, because it's all done. It's out of my head and it's a fresh day. So yeah, just been really kind and gentle to yourself, and try not to overthink every little thing, or just saying, I need some time. I'm going to bed early, and just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I was literally just going to say the same words. We just have to be kind to ourselves, don't we? Not be harsh, not speak horrible to ourselves, no judgment, just take each day and with kindness, accept that this is the next step of our life and it's different, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's all right. I mean, you can't change it. So why waste all that time and worry thinking about what you used to be like? And it was a different life. Like even from your 20s to your 30s, you change so much. So 30s to 40s and then to 50s, everything is going to change. But the easier it is, it's easier if you just accept where you are and not try and think about who you used to be, because it doesn't accomplish anything. And then that brings up more anxiety and overwhelm.
Yeah. And I remember last year I listened to this fabulous and as well, and it was about witches, but actually it wasn't really about witches. It was about wise women, and how the witch trials were really just getting rid of women that were doing medicine. And actually, if we hadn't had the witch trials, our medical system would be so different. And how wonderful to be at an age where you're a wise woman. Like, I think we need more wise women. Fabulous.
There's a fabulous book called Wise Power. if anybody's interested in that kind of thing, empowering, stepping into your power, yeah, Wise Power, it's fantastic. When I read it, I was like, this is me. Like, I was reading it like they're talking to me. It's bizarre. So I would highly recommend that book to every woman about to go or in menopause, or even not, just knowing what amazing empowerment era you're about to step into.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, I'll make sure that all of the information that we've talked about is in the show notes so people can go and have a look if they want to. So is
Yeah.
there any last thought, Holly, that you'd like to leave us with this afternoon?
Just that there was a BBC News article saying that menopause was a disability. I just want to say that menopause is not a disability. No, no, no. It's a time of absolute empowerment, unapologetic, stepping into your power at this time. It can take a little bit of time to get there. I totally get it. There's different scales of symptoms and things, but if you can accept where you are and accept where you're going and know that you are amazing and that you no longer give a fuck, like my podcast, then it will make the transition so much easier. It really, really will.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything you said. Oh, it's been so nice to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining me. And as I say, I'll make sure that everything's in the show notes that people can find you. And if they want to reach out, absolutely reach out. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. There's so much good stuff in there. As I say, I'll make sure all the information is in the show notes so that you can find everything that you need. And yeah, let's celebrate ourselves in menopause. So thanks so much, and I will speak to you again very soon.